welcome to this week's edition of Hitting the Headlines with me, the headline maker, Kurt Cooper. Now, if you listened to last week's episode, first of all, thank you very much for doing so. It is much appreciated as we go for that 300 listens by WrestleMania target. At most decent count, we are only 35 away from it, and I'm confident that this week's podcast is going to do it. Now, at the end of last week's podcast, I said that there was a high possibility that a certain Mr. Paul London would be joining me on this week's show. However, as of recording, he has yet to respond to the Zoom meeting that I sent to him. So all going well, we will get that meeting and we will get that podcast up for you as soon as we can. But as I'm still waiting on 2 blue ticks appearing next to the messages I've been sending him, it's probably not going to be this side of WrestleMania, but hopefully we will get there. But not to worry. This week's edition, I have managed to bring in someone who is also, you could say, an up-and-coming WWE superstar. She has been wrestling on ICW Fight Club for the last couple of weeks. She is a streamer in her own right. She is the WrestleBeech. She is Emily Hayden. And Emily is joining us right now on Hitting the Headlines. Emily, how are you today?
Hey, Beaches! I'm not bad. How are you doing?
I am not too shabby at all. Thank you very much for joining me. I was just explaining in my intro there that Paul London had been advertised to come on this show this week, but due to either him patching me or his WhatsApp being down, which I'm hoping is the case, he's not been able to get back to me. But as I always say, if you shoot for the moon, you'll end up among the stars at some point. And we've got yourself, Emily, ICW star, WWE Network on Peacock star, Emily Hayden. So, Emily, you're going to be hitting the headlines with me, alongside one of your friends within the wrestling business and one of my friends within the wrestling business. That is Hayley the Tiny. Hayley Stewart, the referee from Northern Ireland. Hayley, how are you?
Hello.
Hey, Beach!
Hey, Beach!
So you guys obviously know each other and you have helped to facilitate all this going on today, so thank you very much for that. Now, I'm hoping, are you both feeling well? Are you in good form?
Yes.
Yes.
Top form.
Good stuff, because I'm not going to lie, I have been feeling a wee bit under the weather. I've had the chills, I've had the shakes, I've had the aches, but that is just WrestleMania fever. You know, you can take your AstraZeneca, your Pfizer, whatever you want to stick it, but for this weekend, I'm staying unvaccinated as WrestleMania gets underway. How are you guys pumped for that? Are you guys looking forward to it?
Oh, I'm seriously hyped for it. Like, I've already got in the munchies for the weekend, you know, because you can't have WrestleMania without the munchies.
I have got my eyes on getting a hold of a couple of glass bottles of 1901 Iron Brew just for the occasion, off the diet for this weekend, just to keep me up for it. Hayley, what are your preparations for WrestleMania, if you have any?
None. None. Literally none. I haven't watched wrestling in so long that I actually had to go on Wikipedia what matches were on at WrestleMania.
Like, Portia goes on, she's quite little ass on her phone, like, all right, this is what's happening, this is what's happening.
What matches have we got? Who's wrestling? What's doing what? So yeah, I know, like, last year I stayed up to watch it. I'll be interested to see with the 2 nights this year how it works.
Yep, I think that is the 2 nights thing is definitely going to work. If anything, it's going to reduce you having to stay up for 7-8 hours. Like it's been the last couple of years for it. The 2 nights is a great way of going forward. And that's going to take us into our first headline that we are going to hit today on Hitting the Headlines. And that is, if you build it, they will come. As fans return to a WWE show for the first time in over a year this weekend for WrestleMania, they will obviously be hyped. But with such a poorly received build for a lot of the matches on both nights, is it the live audience that's the biggest draw for the grandest stage of all this year? Or is there something magical that's going to end up happening as a result of these matches? Emily, I'll come to you first. You have been in the privileged position that you have been able to wrestle throughout the last wee while for ICW on the WWE Network of all places. How has that differed for you, doing that in front of just a couple of camera guys and the refs, as opposed to, the crowds that you'd be used to at ICW and everywhere else you wrestle?
Honestly, I found it very strange at first, and then it it was just before I was about to go out and film my first match that Scott and Alice actually had a conversation with me, and they were just asking, "You nervous?" I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "I know it's a bit strange just working the cameras and not having a crowd. However, if you think of it that the crowd is watching you in the camera, then you'll just get to it." And literally, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, never thought of it like that. Went out and just did my thing, you know. So it took a while to adjust, because I've never really worked with that amount of cameras, you know, where you've got like 2 people following you, and then you have the hard cam. I've worked with hard cams and things before, but never that amount of quality. So that was pretty interesting. And after a little tweaking, adjustments and feedback from the producers, I managed to make that work. So that was pretty interesting. But you can't beat a live crowd wrestling in front of them and having the banter. Like, I do miss the banter of a live crowd, because I've had some of my best moments in front of a live crowd. But,
well, that's you know, one of the things that a lot of wrestling's been missing. I mean, obviously over here in Northern Ireland, we've had absolutely nothing for the last year. As I say, you know, you've had your ICW experience there as well. But as fans of the Graps, as fans of wrestling, the adaptation to watching shows on television with no fans or with screens and whatnot. I know you've not watched a lot of wrestling, as you've said there, Hayley, but how, when you've seen, you know, these empty arena shows or limited fan shows that have been on, how, as a fan yourself, how would you have felt, or how do you feel on missing out on those shows from a fan perspective?
Yeah, I think it's the atmosphere you miss out the most on. Like, I remember going to Raws after WrestleMania, and you can't, that is the crowd you want to be in. WrestleMania crowd, yes, you're there, you're having that moment, but it is the Raw after WrestleMania where everything happens, anything happens. I've been parts of what they call the waves, the Mexican waves. I've been part of pissing Randy Orton off, Joe, and he's wrestling, Joe. It's literally, and I think that's what makes it so fun for the wrestlers as well, because you can never expect what the crowd is going to do and how they're going to react. Whereas with the screens, yes, the screens has been a good way to still allow fans to be there. And I don't know how that works. Like, it's, you get one angle and that's it. I haven't experienced anyone who's actually been on the screens. I
did Thunderdome for a SmackDown episode at the end of last year, and it's just basically 2 hours of selling. That is all it is. Yeah. You're basically watching what's going out on the television on your laptop. You've got a voice in your ear that's going like, Sasha Banks is coming, you need to boo her. Baron Corbin's coming out, really loud boos, be animated. So they direct you on it. And the more animated you are, the more screen time you get. Because there's some people that just get, if you're not the acting, they just bomb you off it.
So that's interesting.
So it's quite good, but it's not the best thing to be doing at 2 a.m. when you've got a wife and Wayne up the stairs and you're doing Roman Reigns at the top of your voice just to see if you can see yourself on the telly. But it's definitely a unique way of doing it.
It is.
And something that I think is going to be very unique as well is going to be that first pop for whatever the first match is, for whatever the opening match is on night 1 on Saturday night. How do you think the wrestlers that are going to be involved in that are going to react to that once in a lifetime, pretty much, pop that they're going to get?
I think, well, any sort of a pop's a good reaction, you know, but there's always something, I always say there's always something magical about WrestleMania. So, and you always hear anyone in the business talking about their WrestleMania moment. Like, literally, I watched the Untold Story of Edge vs. Foley last night. So I was watching that, and the two of them were talking about it, and Edge actually raised a good point where he said, like, Foley had all these amazing magical moments throughout his career that you just assume that he has a WrestleMania moment. So there's probably a lot of superstars that are on this card right now that we've just assumed have had that magical mania moment, but they haven't. So it'll be a huge pop when we actually get to watch them and go like, oh, so-and-so's never had that mania moment. That's going to be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, I think people were talking about it like Drew McIntyre never got to defend his title or win his title in front of a live audience. he never got that WrestleMania pop. He never had that moment. So I think for so many of them, actually just physically having a crowd there that they can work off and react off, and maybe get, like as you said, that just any kind of reaction or noise. I think they're going to be so pleased just to hear anything at this point rather than just piped in audience noise.
Yeah, the piping in thing. I was watching some of the Hall of Fame from the other night, and it was during the British Bulldog induction, and his son Harry was out doing it. But they just kept like the reactions they were piping in. They were just coming in at like the wrong time, or they didn't fit with what it is, and it is very jarring with that. And I think, you know, as a performer yourself, Emily, feeding off the right reactions from the crowd makes such a difference. So with the piped in stuff, you know, they didn't have it last year, which I thought was great. You know, the way that the matches rolled out at Mania last year, you heard, you know, all the jab talking in the matches, and that really pulled it up. But because they've gone so far away from that now, the crowd this year, I think, is pretty much going to be the biggest draw on it, because that's where the emotion is, that's where everyone's going to draw from, and it'll be an experience, you know, getting back to a year from a year without feeding off that anticipation or the screams and the oohs and the ahs. I think it's going to make it really, really phenomenal. But the one thing that I was going to ask on that as well is, do you think that the crowd are going to be happy with whatever happens in the matches? Or do you think that if there is, you know, a bit of a stinker of a match, the crowd are going to let them know that it's a stinker like they normally would? Or do you think they're just going to keep it as positive as possible because they're actually getting to a show?
See, I like to think, this is just the optimist in me though, I like to think that everyone will be like positive, like no matter the outcome, just because we're happy that we actually get to watch wrestling live again. However, I like to think as well that if maybe there's like a certain match where the person's not really impressed the way that they normally would, I think the crowd would let them know. But I'm just going to remain optimistic and just think, like, you know, positive outcomes only and all that the crowd will just be like, good job.
Well, I really hope that's how it goes as well, because although the build for a lot of the matches hasn't been great, everyone that's performing this year does deserve to, you know, get the oomph from the crowd. They do deserve that, and none more so than a man that I think has done some of his best work in WWE, which is where we're going to go with this next headline. And that next headline is In-ZAYN in the membrane. Conspiracy theories are abound with Sami Zayn at the moment, from flat earth thoughts to a fear of zebras. But will all this hokum enhance or detract from what could be a show stealer of a match with Kevin Owens? Hayley, I'll come to you on this one first. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have had a storied history with one another, from the Indies all the way up. And they've had some really good matches in NXT and whatnot as well. But now they are getting to do it on the grandest stage of them all. But is this the right circumstance to be putting them in there with only a couple of weeks build to their match?
This is actually one of the only matches that I've seen any build for and seen all over social media. Though when I was looking through, there's a lot, and I was like, oh my god, this match. But the Sami Zayn Kevin Owens one was one I heard about weeks ago, which shows exactly, because I haven't been looking for wrestling stuff. So the fact that it's continuously getting on my socials means they're doing something right now. What I don't agree with was, I was very, very happy with it being Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, because they just have so much chemistry and it's so much fun. And I mean, I love the gifs at the moment going around of Sami Zayn dancing, and he's just absolutely raging that those are the gifts going around. He's like, they're distracting from my conspiracy. What I don't agree with is the added of Logan Paul. I don't think he's necessary. I don't think he should be there. I know Sami was trying to get a bit of banter going on, or some sort of promotion going on, but I do not find it anyway necessary that he should be anywhere near that ring for that match. I just don't think it works. I don't get why that's a thing. Maybe they're going to build up very quickly on it this week. I'm not too sure. I would rather have just been, and it's going to really annoy me if he gets involved in the match, because I think it should just be them two, and it should be their WrestleMania moment for
Yeah.
both of them being in that match at a WrestleMania is just wonderful.
Like I think just with the whole history that they've got, it does seem that they've rushed into this program with them, which I think if they built it properly, we could be getting an even bigger match or even better storytelling within the match. Because I've no doubt that it is going to be one of the best on the card. And one of the things that's made it so intriguing on the Sami Zayn side of things is over the last few months he's had these conspiracy theories going about how everyone's out to get him, and in his documentary that he's making, he goes in hard on the referees within WWE and the way that they have maybe, or in his view, manipulated him out of matches, they've missed important calls, that kind of thing. How difficult is it in the heat of the moment, Hayley, when you're refereeing in matches? How hard is it for you to keep an eye on everything, to make sure that you're not missing anything, to make sure that every count is at the right speed, that your ring counts are fine? How intense is that for you as a referee doing that?
It's so intense because you're looking out for so many things, and it can take seconds for something to change or something to go wrong or for you to miss something. So to be very aware of, firstly, you have to be aware of where you are in the ring. You need to make sure you know where the wrestlers are in the ring. You need to be aware of where the cameras are. You need to be aware of anything that's going to happen, that you need to move quickly, that you need to see, that sometimes things happen. It's wrestling, so you can't remember everything and you can't expect everything to go to plan. So it's extremely intense, and sometimes my counts are quick, sometimes they're slow. It's depending on where I am in the ring, how quickly I can get into position.
Sometimes you miss me getting low blowed by Lewis Alexander. And
sometimes I miss you getting hit over the head with a newspaper by a fan, getting abused by fans. It's so hard, especially the more people in the ring, the more chaos ensues. And
the time that you ref for me, for example, the first time we met, I tried to break her during it, and it was one of those things where Hayley and herself, she's a super. I'm not just saying this because she's married. She has just a superb ref, okay? And as she says, she's really vigilant and she knows exactly what she's doing. But I tried to break her in the first match she ever ref for me, the first time I came over to Ireland. And she was counting me up, 1, 2, and I looked her straight in the eye, deadpan, and I just went, I can't swim, ref, and then turned around and continued to do what I'm doing. I thought I would have got her with that, but she did not break.
You forget that I work with Manny Linguado. And if you cannot break Manny Linguado, you're good, you're so. But yeah, I remember that. I can't swim, ref. And there was probably so many more in that match, and I was just like, keep a straight face, keep a straight face. Don't do it, don't do it. If you ever see me go into a corner and turn towards turnbuckle, someone's got me, because it's usually me with my face in a turnbuckle going, no, why? But yeah, there's just, and then obviously you're watching the wrestler so closely. You're watching for injuries. You're watching for any slight. I have a lot of things I do with wrestlers and have started implementing with wrestlers to check in on their safety, to check in if they're injured. A lot of wrestlers, some can take a lot. And when I'm watching something, I'm like, he's dead. He's actually dead. And I'm over it. And they're like, no, I'm fine. And I used to be quite vocal with my checks, and I've now gone to something a little more subtle, just after very big moves. So it's like an eggy, do squeeze my hand, squeeze my finger. If they don't, I make everyone aware before they go into their matches. If I feel there's something wrong, if you have been injured, or I feel that I need to stop this match, I'm stopping it. And you can be as angry at me as you want, but at the end of the day, I'm the first check for health and safety. I'm the first aider. I'm the first point of contact in the ring for anything that goes wrong. I've been involved in concussions, broken shoulder blades, broken bones, dislocated fingers. I don't want to force anyone to continue in the match, even if they feel they can. So yeah, it's tough. You're looking out for a lot.
Do you think what you've just said there, do you think that that's a part of Sami Zayn's frustrations, in that he doesn't feel that the refs are looking out for him as well as, say, you maybe look out for Manny Linguado or Emily there?
Yeah, I think it's hard, especially when you always notice like the refs slightly look after maybe the faces a little bit more, because obviously it's a baby face and you want to get the crowd behind them and you're checking on them, whereas the heels cheat so much and they make such a big scene. But I feel that sometimes builds up so that when the ref really, really does worry about a heel, they know something's seriously wrong or that something's really happened. But yeah, that could be something he's playing to. They like pulling a lot of conspiracy theories with refs. Has been lots of conspiracies about refs over the years. Obviously, the screw job, you've got the big ones. You've got slow counts. You've got referees getting knocked out and other referees coming in. You've got obviously the guest referees that conspire against the others. So the only thing I'm hoping is that they don't put Logan Paul in as a special guest referee in this sense.
I'm exactly the same on there. And the one thing that I'm kind of most looking forward to, Kevin Owens had said, I think it was in one of the Untold or the Chronicles earlier in the year, that when they had announced they were going to be having WrestleMania last year at the Raymond James Stadium, he was jumping off the pirate ship. Mm-hmm. Do you think we're going to get that this year, Emily? Do you think that we're going to get KO making an even bigger jump than he did last year's Mania this year?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, this is Kevin Owens that we're talking about. So you've seen all the mad stuff that he's done over the years, and I'm not even just talking about WWE. I mean, like we're going back to like PWG and things like that as well. Like you go back to his matches with Candice LeRae. Look at all the crazy stuff that he done. Mm-hmm. So yeah, however, if he doesn't jump off the pirate ship, I will be disappointed. But I have high hopes that he will, because he's just that kind of a guy. But I feel like, because we've got a Logan Paul in the match, like I'm hoping that he would kind of take away from a cool moment like that, because I'm trying to think of the nicest way to say this. Like Logan is an egomaniac, so yeah.
I've actually got somebody that's wanting to ask you a wee question here as well. I'll put these one in. This is Evie. This is wee Evie.
Hello,
Evie.
Hi.
Hiya.
Right, so what question have you got for Emily and Hayley today?
Who will have the best WrestleMania moments?
Oh, that's a very good question, Evie. See, for me, I would say Bianca Belair, because I believe that she's going to walk away with the SmackDown Women's Championship. I believe that we're going to have a little EST champion moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna say Bianca Belair too, but just to go something different, I'll pick someone different here. I think we might get a Daniel Bryan WrestleMania moment.
Oh,
that'd be good.
I would like to see something happen with him and Edge, and just give Daniel like that big last hurrah. I don't know how many more he's got in him. Same with Edge. But I like Daniel Bryan. I think he's gonna get at least a wee moment, just a little WrestleMania moment would be nice.
And what about you, Evie? Who do you think is gonna have the best WrestleMania moment? What do you think? Oh no!
Oh, she's away.
She's away.
She's away.
Thanks very much, Evie. That was a good question. Thank you. Right, so apologies about that. That was I thought that was Paul London on the phone, but it turns out it was his lawyer telling me to stop harassing him. Anyway, we will batter on to the next headline here, which is Ding Dong Hell No. That's like a play on Ding Dong Hello. With Bayley as yet to be announced for a match at WrestleMania, what do you think could still be done with her? And which other missing stars will you miss from this year's WrestleMania? So, Hayley, if you're not up on this, after having a stellar year as SmackDown Women's Champion and Women's Tag Team Champion, Bayley has no place as yet on the WrestleMania card, which is causing a bit of consternation amongst a lot of people as to why, because she's been one of the best performers. Emily, how has it got to the stage where we don't have Bayley on the WrestleMania card like 3 days before night one?
Honestly, I feel like they're just gonna pull something out the bag with her. Like, I think they're making you think that they're not gonna do anything with her, but the way that they've been building up this feud with her and Sasha, so we always had like them as the friendship, and she was helping Sasha with the women's championship, and then they were the tag team champions together, and then obviously they started feuding for the SmackDown Women's Championship belt. So I feel like they're still going to maintain this feud in some way. So I feel like we may get an interference from Bayley during the Sasha and Bianca match. I feel like maybe there's going to be some sort of a thing with Bayley there. Well, that's what I'm hoping for anyway, because like you say, she has been stellar throughout. Like going into the whole 4 horsewomen thing as well. She's one of the 4 horsewomen, so you expect her to be there in some sort of a capacity. But I think it's going to be an interference.
What about yourself, Hayley? How would you like to see Bayley make her mark in this year's WrestleMania?
I think even just having her on it in some shape or form, as you said, really, really good year, really good character. I know she has personal stuff going on just from what I see in social. I believe her husband and her have separated now or something along those lines. So unless they're just giving her a break to deal with her personal life, her personal situation, so that she's not traveling as much or she needs to get stuff sorted. But I would still like even something crazy like mystery tag team partner, and they just absolutely go and destroy everyone in the tag team turmoil.
That's been one of the things I've seen floated on social media as well, that having Charlotte could end up tagging and doing that. But do you think that does a bit of a disservice to the women's tag division, that instead of, teams that have maybe been going for a while, like the Riot Squad, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose and things like that they would get pushed out of the way just to throw Bayley and Charlotte together? Yeah,
I think that could be. It's I really miss the Iconics.
Yeah.
I miss them so much, and I don't know, like I really miss them. So unless there's just something, they do something with Bayley and Billy.
Well,
I'm just like,
I honestly feel like as well, just following on what Hayley said, like the fact that we had an established team like the Iconics and then they've split them apart. It's one of those ones where I love the Iconics that much. I'm like, you better give me a very good reason for splitting them up. So you either pull the trigger with Peyton or you pull the trigger with Billy, and then you do something with them in the championship picture. No disrespect to the 4 horsewomen. We know that they're amazing and talented women. It's just nice to see other women getting the shot as well every now and then. In particular, I really want to see Peyton in the championship picture, especially after that promo that she cut, where the Give Me a Chance promo. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, she's certainly done a lot to justify getting a shot, and Billy Kay's her character work has been phenomenal for the last few months as well. But I think I've got it sussed with what they're going to do with Bayley. Night one, Bayley comes out, open challenge. She's like, why am I not on WrestleMania? Why don't I have a WrestleMania opponent? Open challenge. Night 2, Becky, Rousey, or Tessa Blanchard.
Oh, that's
the challenge. Night
interesting.
Because that would be a good way of bridging the two. Because you've got, because it's not going to be, a lower card female that's going to come out and answer Bayley's challenge at WrestleMania. It's got to be somebody big. And maybe it's a bit too quick for Becky. I know that Ronda Rousey's been training fairly recently, and Tessa Blanchard's been spotted with a number of the WWE women as well. So that could be that. I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm hoping that that's what it is. But again, that could just be pie in the sky on there as well. But in terms of like other folk that are missing out, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about how this is going to be the first WrestleMania since 1988 that hasn't had either The Undertaker, Triple H, or Shawn Michaels on it. We're not going to see John Cena this year. There's no Batista, and as I say, there's no plans as yet for the likes of Becky Lynch, no Charlotte as yet either. Who would you think would be the biggest miss to WrestleMania out of everyone that could be on the show? Even the likes of, your Aleister Black, your Ali's, those kind of guys as well.
Honestly, like you said one of them that I'll definitely miss, which is Cena, because for the past while, honestly, I can't think of a Mania where I've not seen Cena. That's no pun intended, like.
I would definitely have intended that pun. I would have definitely intended that one.
It's too easy. It was too easy to make that. But I really hope that we would see Cena in some sort of a capacity at Mania, even if it's just like where he would do a Rock and just come out and cut a promo or something. But unfortunately, it doesn't look that way. So, and then the fact that, as you say, we don't have the famous Taker spot on WrestleMania where it's the streak. So I'm quite surprised at that. Like, even if we had him on in some sort of a capacity, like just doing a promo or something. But honestly, as far as I'm aware, in terms of the women, I'm very gutted that we've not got like a Becky or a Charlotte. But that's just because of the matches that they've put on at Manias in the past, in particular the triple threat that they had in the main event of Mania. So that's quite surprising. So for me, those are the names that really spring to mind, but I'm very sad about the John Cena one, especially after like that Firefly Funhouse match they had with Bray Wyatt. I thought that was like one of the greatest things I've ever seen. It was just a work of art for me.
It was really, really good, and it was one of the highlights of last year's WrestleMania, that Firefly Funhouse with John Cena. And before we go on to the next section of the podcast, some of the previous guests on the show have offered up what their highlights for this year are going to be, their predictions, and they're going to play now.
Ooh.
My second favourite pay-per-view of the year kicks off in a couple of days' time. Really looking forward to it this year. The added fact that there's going to be 25,000 fans each night is going to make it a little bit special, and WrestleMania is always special, despite when the card is looking a bit rubbish. This year, 2 massive nights, 2 really big cards. At the moment, I'm looking forward to 3 matches. Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. I think it's going to be fantastic. McIntyre carried the company over the past year during COVID times, and I think that he's going to go over Lashley, and he's going to get his WrestleMania moment in front of the fans. Although I do think the imploding of the Hurt Business is a swerve, and I think there's more to play out with that. So, you know, I'm hoping that McIntyre goes over, but then there's a little bit of me thinking it might be Lashley. Second match I'm looking forward to is the triple threat. You've got Reigns, Bryan and Edge, and I think Daniel Bryan is going to, again, they need to get something to get the fans reinvested in the product. I think Daniel Bryan is going to make Edge tap, just to get everything going. And then the final match that I'm looking forward to, it was hard to pick just 3, and I'm kind of tied because I've got 4 wrestlers across 2 matches. You've got Rollins versus Cesaro, and you've got Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. 3 out of 4 of these guys are criminally underused, but I'm going to go for Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, and I think that Sami Zayn is going to go over in that match. I think that that's going to be probably the show stealer over the weekend, just because Kevin Owens tweeted the other day saying they've done this match 100 times, but nothing will be as bigger as what it will be at WrestleMania. So they're the 3 matches I'm looking forward to. Make sure you tune in, and here's to Drew McIntyre winning the title again.
Hi everyone, it's Claire here. Happy WrestleMania week. So I've been asked by Kurt Cooper to give the top 3 matches I'm most looking forward to at WrestleMania this year. So number 1 would be Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. So these 2 have had some amazing matches in the past, right back to their NXT days. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they bring out of each other on the main stage. And I'm hoping Sami will go over, just because I think he's fantastic. Second match would be Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. These 2 have a lot to live up to, main event in the first night of WrestleMania. So I can't wait for these 2 to pull it out of the bag, make their mark, and make history together. Hoping Bianca gets it. She is an absolute machine, and get some new blood in there. The third match I'm looking forward to is Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon always brings it in the big matches, always has the best spots. I can't wait to see what he has in store for us. So everybody enjoy WrestleMania and take care of yourselves. Bye.
WrestleMania is right around the corner, and if you're not excited for it, you probably should be, because we've got a lot of banger matches on the way, such as Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn going at it once again in the feud that will never die because they're going to fight forever with Logan Paul. Ignoring that, the roles are reversed this time. So I'm going to go good guy Owens. Good guy Owens. He's probably going to win. But another match that's probably going to steal the show, Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. I mean, we've been saying it for years. Cesaro has been killing it on SmackDown. He's been killing it for years. Hasn't had a singles match at Mania. Why is that? Fix it. It's a crime, honestly. And Seth Rollins, he's the right guy. He's the right guy right now to give Cesaro that sweet win. Honestly, that's going to be good. Swing him for like 20 minutes. I'll be happy. But the real match that's going to make Mania, you got Reigns, Edge, Bryan. This match, week after week, it keeps getting better. I don't know how they do it. To the point where any one of them could win the title, walk out of Mania as a champion. Honestly, it's just any one of them could win. But I'm going to say Reigns because he's very scary.
So Kirk, here comes the Huntsman Eli Fox's predictions for WrestleMania. Let's get straight into it. 1. You're going to have the Empress of Tomorrow versus Brutality personified. Asuka, Ripley. Who do I think's walking out of this one? Say hello to your new women's champion, Rhea Ripley. The future's brutal. The Empress is yesterday's news. Moving on, match number 2. We're going to have Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Friends, foes, the mad conspirator, the prize fighter. I tell you now, Sami's walking out. The victor. He's going to be proven right with all the conspiracy stuff. Owens, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of that ring. End of. Match number 3. I'm going for Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Now in this one, I have The Fiend going over because old Randall has only so much fight left in him. And he's tried hard. But he's not walking out of WrestleMania. Not as the same competitor, not as the same person, not as the same father, just not the same after The Fiend gets to him. That's my predictions, Kirk. Huntsman out.
Sticky here. My top 3 WrestleMania picks for this year are Drew v. Bobby. I'd say Drew to go over and get his win back after breaking up the Hurt Business. Rollins and Cesaro. Cesaro going over clean as a whistle. And then Bianca versus Banks. And I still think Sasha is going to go full-blown heel. Turn and cheat to win. Screw Bianca out of her moment at WrestleMania. Cheers.
Hi, Tommy Fierce here. Just regarding WrestleMania matches. So I'm excited for obviously Sasha versus Bianca. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. It's the first time 2 women of colour have ever went even head to head in a singles match in WrestleMania. Obviously everyone knows Sasha Banks is my favourite wrestler, so I'm really hoping she pulls through and wins. But I'm really excited to see which moves and stuff they're going to do and what story it's going to play. I'm also excited for the tag team title match, women's tag team title match. Really would love to see Red Squad get the win. I think it's about time. They've been on the roster for a long time. They've worked their asses off. So we'd like to see them take the win. Also as well, Asuka and Rhea Ripley. I hope Rhea Ripley takes the title. It's Ripley time. I just hope Asuka is born renowned champion. I just hope it's a good hard-headed match. Yeah, so there you go.
It's your boy, Catchman Mills here, super pumped for WrestleMania week. My 3 matches I'm most looking forward to is 1, Cesaro versus Rollins. I just love Cesaro's work. Technical mastermind. I really hope that they just let them 2 just go at it and just put on a show. On top of that, I am also looking forward to seeing Ripley versus Asuka. Need to see Ripley go over. Goddamn, they just need to give her that championship and let her ascend. Just such a Ripley mark. Just her character, her fire, just everything about her is just absolute magic. They just need to strap the rocket boots onto her and let her go. And then of course, last but certainly not least, is the freeway for the Universal Championship between Rollins, Bryan and Edge. As much as an Edgehead I am, I have to back Bryan for this one. I want us to go home with a happy ending for night 1. And also, I can't not back a fellow vegan. Like, come on. Bryan, you got this. Everyone, enjoy the WrestleMania week. Stay safe. Bye.
Thanks very much, guys, for those predictions. We'll see if those come through on Saturday and Sunday at WrestleMania, which takes us on to this week's and finally. The celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame added Ozzy Osbourne and William Shatner to its ranks this week. And with Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, who we mentioned earlier, Mike Tyson and Shaq featuring on AEW in the last few weeks as well. Which local celebrities in either Scotland or Northern Ireland do you guys think would give the local promotions a bit of a bump once the world is back to normal? Hayley, I'll come to you first in that one.
Yeah.
Of all the celebrities that Northern Ireland has unleashed on the world, who do you think would be the one that could give the likes of Titanic or Resolution or the Wrestling Live a wee bit of oomph to kick things back off?
I mean, so many Northern Ireland celebrities I could choose from. The first one that comes to mind, just because he's been on the news recently, is Carl Frampton.
Mm-hmm.
Retired boxer. I think he could probably feature in some wrestling at some point, as most boxers tend to do. They seem to dabble a wee bit in the art in the sport. So I think definitely he could be a big one that could go over. You could get some funny ones like Eamon Holmes. Eamon Holmes would be
Eamon
hilarious.
and Ruth just going at it. Eamon and Ruth just fighting each other.
Get in a ring and go. Yeah, like if you could, Liam Neeson. A little bit of Liam Neeson, and then you could start going into like the TikToker influencers. So you've got Taj Fleming, who's absolutely hilarious, who would probably actually bring the most eyes, because I mean he's getting millions of views. He's won awards recently, and I mean his family are just hilarious. So I could just imagine what would happen if we put them in a wrestling ring or brought them to a wrestling show. I think it would be absolutely hilarious. But I can't think of many more.
Well, those are some solid choices. Julian Simmons and Frank Mitchell for me.
Yeah.
those would be the two. Julian Simmons is a continuity guy on the telly over here who's very camp, very over the top. And Frank Mitchell is a national legend. He's a weatherman turned radio DJ, and he used to present kids shows and stuff over here as well. So I think I would load those to the mix. Emily, Scottish celebrities to give, SWA or any of the ones up north, whatever in Scotland, who would be your pick?
First of all, just to carry on from what Hayley says, now I've just got this image of Liam Neeson coming out and cutting like a Taken promo. The promotions.
And then Jamie Dornan walks out and just ruins it all.
But in terms of Scottish celebrities, like the first ones I can think of are like Greg Hempel and Ford Kiernan from Still Game.
They've had their shot.
You can never go wrong with having them on the show again, especially like they've been on ICW a couple of times. But one that I'm thinking in particular is Limmy. I'd love to see Limmy on a show, like, because the stuff that he's been doing on Twitch, I think, has been hilarious. So I would actually love to see what he would do on a live show.
That'd be a good one to actually get him to do, is one of his improv stories. Man goes to a wrestling event. just that, and just the deadpan delivery, and then the guy who's always called Craig just gets battered. He's always called Craig. But yeah, Lemmy, Greg Hempel, anybody for the comedy scene. You can't forget Rab Florence as well, obviously. You need to bring him in as well. But listen, that is all the time we have for on this week's Hitting the Headlines. WrestleBeech, Emily Hayden, thank you very much. Hayley the Tiny, thank you very much. Evie, thank you very much for your question. And thank you for hitting the headlines with me. Enjoy WrestleMania, enjoy your wrestling. We'll see you next week.
Bye.